A new Blade Runner for the LAPD uncovers a long-buried secret. Matt Perrin has your Monday movie musing.
Welcome to another Monday. I'm sorry, but I'm going to disappoint you right off the bat. I know in my heart that many of you were waiting with bated breath, just hoping that I was going to review the My Little Pony movie. I'm sorry to suck the wind right out of your sails, but that is not this week's movie. Although, in all fairness, it probably would be an easier review to write. No, this week's review is the sequel to a cult classic coming out 3.5 decades after the original. So does the new film hold a candle to its predecessor, which is considered one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time? Here's my take on Blade Runner 2049. Our film begins in Los Angeles in, as the title gives away, 2049, 30 years after the original. After the events of the first film, the replicant program was suspended until Wallace, played by Jared Leto, solved some of the world's problems by creating the Series 8 replicant, with no lifespan in pure obedience, but it can still be retired when it loses its usefulness, as displayed with the Voight-Kampff test. Kay, played by Ryan Gosling, is one such replicant, but he acts as a Blade Runner, a cop sent to retire his own kind when needed. On one outing, Kay goes to retire an old model, and after a long struggle and success, they find a case buried in the ground outside, along with a date on a tree that seems to upset Kay. After some investigating, the case contains bones of an old model replicant that is identified as Rachel from the first film, but in a shocking turn of events, it is discovered that she died in childbirth. Knowing that the revelation will cause turmoil and possibly war, Kay's boss tasks him with finding the now-adult child and eliminating it. Somehow, at the same time, Wallace has discovered that this occurred as well and wants to find the child to unlock the secrets of replicant procreation, which he has been trying to accomplish for some time. Through his investigations, Kay has learned of Deckard and his relationship with Rachel and gets a bead on where he may have been hiding for the last 30 years. He manages to track down Deckard, reprised by Harrison Ford, and learns of their struggle in the past. All of this time, Kay is torn between his duty as a Blade Runner and his own developing feelings against his servitude. As the movie progresses, we as the audience watch to see the moral choices that must be made, all the while being completely enveloped by the action and the futuristic landscapes and technology originally created by Ridley Scott and continued on in the present. So, what to say about this one? First off, I know I'm going to lose a lot of you here, but I am not a huge fan of the original. Don't get me wrong, I can appreciate it and its themes, but I don't need to see all the different versions, and I don't think of it as the greatest sci-fi movie ever. This one, the sequel, follows closely in the footsteps of its predecessor. It definitely evolved like it should. Whereas the first one deals with the importance of life, having a time limit, and hence the importance of living, this one goes into deeper ideas of a soul and the creation of life, along with who is actually more human. This one definitely sends you down a rabbit hole where even if you are familiar with the first one, you are still at times lost as to what's going on. With the first film, the main argument was whether Deckard was himself actually a replicant. Well, I'll tell you what, this film does nothing to clear that argument up, and strangely enough, almost leans towards him being human. I can only assume they are planning another one, because if not, it's infuriating how many loose ends this film leaves. It asks so many new questions that have yet to be answered at the completion. Look, you know if you want to see this and if you'll enjoy it. If you didn't like the original but still want to give this one a try, don't bother, because with an almost 3-hour runtime, that's a long time to be sitting in a theater regretting your decision. This has been your Monday Movie Musing. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Matt.